I think it's 7 that the maybe start. Before the formal start of the meeting, though, there's just something that I want to say. This is mostly thanks. This is the last meeting of the planning committee for the civic year, but it's also the last meeting of what I think has almost become known as the old council, the meeting of the old council. So I wanted to say thank you to all members of the committee. I mean, this is a very hard-working committee. We meet far more often than any of the others, and there's a lot of homework to do. And it's perhaps significant. It's been the incredible shrinking committee as members have left, I think, perhaps nonplussed by the amount of work between meetings. So thank you. And I feel that we've been accused of mission creep in the last year or so. But actually, I take the accusation of mission creep really as a badge of honour. Yes. Because I think, we have responded, when we've been asked to respond to documents, we have responded, we've taken up a number of issues, so that all that, in addition to the kind of bread and butter standard work of looking at the planning application. So yeah, so thank you everybody. Some of us may not be here when this meeting happens again. So thank you. And I have two special thanks really. The first one is to Rich, who's been absolutely brilliant at minuting this committee, which I know hasn't always been the easiest committee to minute either. So he's doing an absolutely brilliant job. And also coped admirably with the vast amount of emails and letters that he's had to draft as a consequence of the work, our expanding work of the committee. The second thank you is to Rachel, who really drove through the neighbourhood development plan. The neighbourhood development plan is within the remit of this committee, and I think much of the hard work had been done by the time I figured it 44 years ago. So just tremendous thanks to Rachel for all her work and for pushing it through. So we wish you a happy retirement. It won't feel like that.
You're the youngest person in the room.
Right, so okay, we'll start with the meeting proper. So welcome everybody, particularly the one member of the public we've got here who is wanted to speak about the development in the land of Wesley Avenue, when we can get to that. So I'm going to ask the committee if we can suspend standing orders so that we can let David Sykes can speak when we get to that item.
Thank you.
Yeah, people happy with that? Thank you. Okay, right, let's go there. So there's no open session planning. There's nobody else here to speak. Right. The meeting is being recorded for broadcast on the Hull Valley Parish Council YouTube channel. Does anybody want to make any further recordings? Thank you. Apologies for absence.
Only the dispensation for Councillor Dixon.
And yeah, we want to accept that dispensation. Thank you. Right. Item 3. Members and officers' personal and disclosable pecuniary interests in items on the agenda. Does anybody have anything to declare, any interest in any item? Yes.
I should decline number 3 on the planning list.
Thank you.
Because he's crossing where I live.
Right. And I need to declare on the planning list number 15, which is Homeforth Market. Person interest in that. Right. Are there any new detail dispensations? No, thank you. And should any of the items be discussed in private session? No. So, right. So on to the minutes of the last meeting. Extremely lengthy minutes of the last meeting, I have to say. Yeah. Can somebody propose that we confirm? Thank you, Pat. Seconded. Thank you. Okay. All in favour? Right. Thank you. So, the completed Kirklees planning applications list, can we note list 222310 updated with the views of the committee, please? Thank you. Okay, thanks. So we now get on to new planning applications. So I'm going to bring forward, it's number 16 on the list, which is the 35 houses off Wesley Avenue. So, the floor is yours.
Oh.
3 minutes.
Thank you very much. Good evening, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak to you tonight about the proposed development on the land at the Wesley Avenue in Leatherthorne. I've lived at 7 Wesley Avenue for the past 13 years and therefore know this site and the surrounding area very well. The planning application in its current form does not comply with Kirklees' house builders design guide, their local plan, or the parish council's own neighbourhood plan, in particular policies 6, 12 and 13. Nor does it meet the requirements set out in the climate change emergency plan, and there are 8 reasons for this, which I'll go through. So, number 1, the proposed development does not reduce the impact on the environment and climate change due to its reliance on sources of non-renewable energy, for example, gas-fired central heating water systems, and also its failure to offset the carbon emissions associated with its construction, estimated to be in excess of 2,880 tonnes of CO2, which is the equivalent of chopping down 2,880 full-sized woodland trees. Number 2, the proposed construction plan for this site would destroy existing red-listed protected species, including hedgehogs and native bluebells. Number 3, the proposed development, both during construction and after completion, will increase the risk of flooding and the risk of harmful contaminants entering the local river. Number 4, the planned house for plot 6 is unsuitable. It fails to meet the Kirklees Council's policies in respect of its planned roof line, road safety, safe refuse collection, affordable housing. Number 5, the existing heritage unit protected. There are a pair of unique stone gate posts that sit within the boundary of the site. There's no protection given to those during the construction, and the implication is that they will be destroyed to make way for housing. Number 6, the construction phase has not been properly planned. It will increase the risk of accidents, traffic jams, bus delays and access to emergency services. Number 7, the inadequate parking provision within the finished site will increase the risk of road safety on the surrounding village streets. And finally, number 8, the proposed hours of work will be detrimental to the health and well-being of existing residents. Yesterday I sent each of you an email explaining the reasons why this application in its current form does not meet the requirements set out in the relevant policies, and I included in that a list of 8 proposed conditions that need to be applied to make this development acceptable and compliant with those policies. Regrettably, there isn't enough time within my allocated 3 minutes tonight to go through these in detail. However, I would urge you to read them, and I've got hard copies that I can read with you if you need to. And what I would really urge you to do is to use your powers to enforce them, and in doing so you'll be living up to the pledges made both in your neighbourhood plan and your climate emergency action plan to make the planet safer for ourselves, our children and future generations. Thank you.
Thank you, David, and thank you too for sending round the written email to us all.
That's no problem. Thank you. If you'd like those, they're welcome to make minutes. Okay. Oh, that's great.
Can I see those?
Yes, of course. Yeah, that's a full copy with photographs and things, and then there's a summary sheet just with the 8 proposed conditions on as well.
Right, anybody wish to comment? Andy? Because I think my direction launch.
I guess there's a bit of history with this one, isn't there? In that originally it was refused and then went to appeal and was granted. So we're not in a position to refuse it, but because it's already been granted in effect, it's just the detail, isn't it, in a way. I think there's some positive things in there, in that there's actually a climate change statement. It says there's triple glazing, it also says there's solar panels, but I couldn't see any on the plan. sure about that. I think that one's clear here. Waste heat recovery and ventilation heat recovery, but no air source heating, as David's pointed out, it's gas heating, so they perhaps could have done more there. And the materials, I guess, it's the stone built with blue slate roof, which seems to be the sort of standard, doesn't it, for that sort of build. Although it's too late, I mean, it's a great shame, there's a lovely green space that we're losing, but that decision's already gone. It's more about the sort of issues that's been raised by David and whether we ought to raise those with carefully, which I think probably we should, shouldn't we? You know, the plot seats, the gate posts, be shame to lose things like that.
We can't really object, sorry.
Sorry,
I'm done.
have you finished?
We can't really object to the gas because it's still legal until 2025.
Yeah.
There's nothing much I mean, we can say
We can
we're disappointed.
Yes, which was yes. Yeah. I mean, unfortunately, a lot of these things are advisory rather than even Kirklees own SPDs, only advice, aren't they? And these developers know that.
Anyone else wish to comment?
I think, I mean, as Andy's kind of covered everybody, but I think there's a sense that, from what I could see of the planned homes, because I know originally it was identified as having 38 houses on the plots, it's now due to 35, but quite a lot seem to be small, smaller houses. So in terms of, I mean, that doesn't necessarily equate to affordable, but I do think the mix of houses is better than I anticipated, if I'm honest. I thought we'd go for
You can look at that, but you can affordable, shouldn't they, within that mix?
in theory, they should be. Whether they are, I don't know, but
You can only make them smaller, you can't control the price.
No, but is it a housing development over
10 houses. Yeah,
Yeah.
but they've got more than the minimum they're supposed to
Yeah,
put, is
yeah.
what Rachel's
Well, that's
saying.
what I think.
Oh, you think that?
Yeah.
Well, it certainly looks like it.
Can I just, there are 8 2-bedroom houses, 4 one-bedroom flats, of which 4 are going to be socially rented. So I think they are, and 3 are going to be for affordable sale. So I think, in terms of their responsibilities, in that direction, I think that's
I
probably
mean, I think
reasonable.
what's really helpful from this comprehensive document is sort of the additional suggested elements that should go into the conditions, because I think that's sort of, as Andy said, kind of the ship sailed in terms of this has been identified as a development site, then it also went through planning process and then appealed, and then it's been, so I think it's difficult to stop it, but it's about shaping it to make sure it's as good as it can be. And I think some of these, be it around working hours, it's about being a reasonable contractor again, isn't it? And it's mitigating the environmental impact. And I know they've put documents in about biodiversity and games. They're obviously, they're attempting to do it, and it's about making sure they're held to account for what they say they're going to do. I think.
There are a number of comments from the statutory consultees as well. So issues around restores, already mentioned, trees, in planting of invasive species. There's quite a lot, and some of the crime and security measures apparently it's not too happy with. It feels as though there's an awful lot of work still to do in terms of design on this, as though it's really not quite ready.
Sorry, can I just add one thing? I know there's mention of, I thought I'd read somewhere about solar panels, but I think we should reiterate the fact that whilst we recognise it was gas boilers to some extent, if you're building a new property, it should have at least some sources of renewable technology, which might be air source heat pumps, it might be a ground source heat pump underneath the entire. You could do somewhere doing developments over a certain size.
We believe you, we do believe you.
Chapter 5, subsection 3, paragraph 2.
Has anybody who hasn't spoken got anything to add at this point?
I suppose asking for all these
Yeah.
amendments.
Yeah, it's trying to get the best of the job, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
I take it it's in the local plan, isn't it, this?
Yes.
I remember that this is an application that it rumbled on years and years, it's probably about 4 years ago, before like this current council, the old council.
Really old?
Yeah, really old, back in the, yeah, I think they tried to push it through before, when the local plan wasn't in place, if I'm not, yeah. Well, back then you kind of got permission pretty much, because there was no local plan in place, so anything went, and they couldn't really contest it. So that's when it all was kicking off about this, and I'll be honest, I don't really go to Netherthorne very often, and I've never heard anything about this since. The planning committee, so you just kind of assume these things get built, don't you? But this has just been left on the shelf by the looks of it for donkey's years, and now they've got around to doing something with it. And to their detriment, now we've got a local plan in place, which means that neighbourhood plan in place, thanks to Rachel and everyone else. So now we can force these measures on them to make it so that they're to be compliant with us, whereas before, when they got permission before, if they'd just gone ahead and done it, they could have got away with all this stuff. So it's quite funny actually.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we're in,
Well, it's not funny,
but
but
depends what the meeting feels, so we're going to be in a position to oppose it. I mean, in a way the deal's done, there's the 35 houses, so do you wish to oppose, given that sorry, did you wish to speak?
Am I allowed to?
Yes.
All they've given permission for is access to the site and outline permission for 35 houses to be built on there.
Yeah.
They haven't given permission for the reserved matters yet, so that's still open to debate. But as far as I can see, you've got the neighbourhood plan, so therefore you can impose conditions, and you know your climate change policy does state that you will drive sustainability and go for net zero. Well, rather than having the expense of the council or the parish council having to retrofit once the gas boilers are no longer available, then go for it from day one.
We can't impose though.
We can only request. I mean, the parish council can.
I think for that one though, we can refer to it in our policy.
We can refer to it. I
Well,
think we want if.
Yeah.
I think it's whether we actually support or oppose, but whatever we do, I think there's going to be this long list of conditions that we wish to see imposed, including everything that you've said.
Thank you.
I think we should oppose it based on Mr. Sykes has come forward and brought forward lots of planning considerations, quoting our own policies. We need to stick to them. So we should be going back to them and quoting them back to the place and trying to get the best deal that we can do. Whether it gets accepted or not, I don't know. But like we should say to them, we've got the neighbourhood plan through, so we should use it.
Yeah.
And it's good to see somebody actually from the public coming and reading it and quoting it to us, and it's showing the worth of the document.
Yes, I mean, I think it's the conditions that the conditions we're requesting are what's important here, and that list needs to be as comprehensive as possible. So I assume you've got them all, which, including the issues raised by the statutory consultees as well, and some of the neighbours' concerns. Some of the neighbours' concerns, I think, probably they think things have moved on from that, but. Shall we oppose? Yeah.
Yes.
Shall we vote on that? Oppose? Okay, thanks. Okay, so we'll oppose and we'll put a comprehensive list of conditions as we, the matters that have been raised here.
Can I just ask that we reflect positive, because there's no reason
Yes,
we can't
let's
say
reflect
welcome the
positive,
affordable.
yes.
Yeah, welcome the high level of affordable
Yes,
loans.
yes,
So I think that is
yeah.
I
positive.
do get the impression
Yeah.
I hate to be cynical, but I get the impression it's one of those ones where they put all the extra ones in, and then about 6 months down the line after they get permission,
Yeah,
they say, oh, we can't afford not to do this now, so we're getting
we want to do all 5 bedrooms.
Yeah.
They have
So,
actually.
but I hate to be cynical, they might not do that, they might not do that. Well, they haven't got permission yet, so we don't know.
I think they've gone further than a lot of developments.
Yes, they have. They've gone further than they are required to do.
And they have actually nominated a housing management company to look after the socially rented housing. So yes, that is really positive. The housing mix is a positive.
Yeah. I'm not convinced about what they're saying, and whether it's just a generic document they put forward that doesn't actually apply to those particular houses. As I say, it gives the impression anyway that solar panels are on all these houses, but not on the plans.
So we put a condition requesting
That's
that.
for clarification.
Yeah.
Yeah.
looks like a generic document that covers what they like to do.
That all dwellings should have some environmentally friendly way
Well,
of
it's
raising,
number
whether
6
it's
in policy 12.
it's a-
All new buildings should incorporate technologies which generate or source energy from renewable low carbon sources.
that's it.
So that's
Right, anybody say anything else? Thank you for coming.
No, thank you very much for listening.
You're welcome to,
It's so understanding.
you're welcome to stay, but I know you.
I've got
I know you
the
have
reason
to-
I've got to
I
this,
know
I'm
you have
afraid.
to-
Thank you so much for coming
Yeah.
out today.
Well, thank you for coming.
Yeah, thank you.
Right.
Are you okay to go?
I do, yes, the north, that's right. Okay. Thanks again.
Cheers.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Right, let's move back to the top of the list.
Only one.
It's a homely one, that, yes.
I've got support basic, I mean, it's in the conservation area, so to an extent we defer to officers, but I can't see any.
Yeah, well, I had a look, and I was at caving between support and defer to Kirklees officers. Did anybody else? I mean, what is really interesting is that I think a majority of these applications now are using something, the climate change statement, which obviously is on the Kirklees. I found it on the Kirklees website, so it's good to say that that is actually happening now. It is in the list of requirements, but obviously hasn't, it's just made it really into, onto actual application. So that's good. So this has got one of those, doesn't it? So.
this was just like a random toilet.
Yeah, I don't know why,
Yes,
I mean, the drawings weren't helpful, I can see, if all you're doing is building a casa, you might not want to spend money on an architect, but the plans didn't help me at all.
There's only a toilet there already.
I don't know, maybe it's the toilet, they want a toilet when they're in the garden in the summer,
I think it's making
But
a
they
compost
do-
toilet.
they're going to turn the heating off in winter,
Yeah,
aren't they?
yes.
It's going to be a summer toilet.
There was in 2020 there was a previous application for a certificate of lawfulness which was refused, and I couldn't see that the plans really looked much different from 2020.
But they've been advised, they've
They've
been
been
sort of
advised,
advised that, it sounds as though they've been given enough advice before, I couldn't really fathom it, but I couldn't understand why they want this bill,
No,
this thing at
Yeah.
all. But I can't see grounds for objecting to it as long as it looks alright in the conservation area.
Shall we?
That's the only thing.
Yeah.
Support subject to the conservation officer approving as well.
We could do. Yes, let's do that.
What did you
Are
say?
you happy with that?
Support subject to the conservation
Yes.
officer also approving.
I think I need to make an apology, council.
What's that?
I don't think I've given you all the applications. When Pat came in and said there weren't many applications,
No,
I
I've
was
only
like,
got-
there were.
Only got 18.
Yeah, there was
Yeah.
more than 18.
More than 18. Oh gosh. Right.
I'll have to write to Kirklees and say, could you defer these until next meeting if you can?
I think so.
There's about probably another 18.
Yeah, I was going to say, we'll be here till 3 a.m. if
Yeah,
we're trying to go through them.
when you said, I was like, no, there's loads. Right, yeah.
Well, I was
That's what
surprised
was
because
happening.
it seems a lot. It seems a long time since the
Yeah.
last meeting. No, we've only got
No.
18. We can't do them on the hoof. Well,
No, we can't.
Can't possibly do that. Okay, right. Well, it'll be a short meeting. Subject to conservation officer approval. Move on to number 2, which is Tom.
Yeah, I've had a look at this one. The chapel was closed and just converting it into a dwelling. There's no real change of use to the, not really any changes to the external that I really noticed. I paid attention to that really stood out to me. I thought it looked okay. So I'm happy to approve it.
Yeah, I used to live there. I used to live across the road.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, what else is it going to be but
Yeah.
but a dwelling house, really? But maybe perhaps we could just say, draw attention to the comments.
Well, I'd imagine that the house across the road must be listed, so it might just be subject. I expect it'll be quite pleasantly done.
What are we drawing attention to?
Asking her to take account of the neighbour representation that know, the workers,
What did you just say, Mary?
I said to me, just looking at my notes and wondering what else to this mean.
They need to take
So,
it down.
the environmental health had proposed several conditions, particularly about the water. And there's a neighbourhood representation about the fact that work had already started on the site prior to the submission of the application, which is a bit naughty. But there was an extensive energy statement, so that's something. Move on to number 3.
This is an interesting one.
Oh, this one, yeah. This is about erecting a fence on the whole perimeter of the grounds for New Mill Junior School.
What a shame.
And there are some lovely hedges, beech hedges along facing where
But it's
it's
such a shame that you have to make a school like a prison. We're not on the out, I mean, this isn't the outskirts of a rough bit of Bradford, is it?
I think you should refuse it on the basis
Yeah.
that it's not appropriate in a semi-rural area.
Yeah.
So I think it refers to it being an urban environment.
It
I don't think I
does.
describe it as
Nonsense.
semi-urban, but not urban.
Yes,
And the sight of the views from all the directions. I think you could have a fence inside the, a slightly higher fence on the inside of the hedge if you needed to have one, but 2.4 palisade fence.
But somebody's, my guess is that somebody's got a bee in their bonnet about safeguarding the children, and maybe there's been somebody lurking around recently and they've all got worried. But rural schools shouldn't have prison fences around them.
there was a spate of building high fences around schools, must be about 10, 15
Yeah.
years ago in response to, I can't remember exactly what triggered it, and I just thought, what a shame that it's
It was a stabbing,
necessary.
it was awful.
And you can always get into if you wish.
The teacher got stabbed, and I was chair of governors at, I was just a governor at Marsden Junior, and somebody proposed a big fence, can't remember who, and all the governors said, no, this is not a rough area, and that was terrible that young teacher got stabbed, but no.
Andy, I just wondered if this is one of your patches, isn't it? What have you thought about it?
He just feels, I think, as
Yeah.
everyone's been saying, it's a bit over the top.
Yeah.
I mean, it is awful that you go to one of these schools now and they do feel like prisons. You actually can't get in some of them. They do feel like prisons. I understand the feelings that drive these things, but there's got to be a bit of a compromise somewhere.
I think I just said the only thing I'd say is there was comments about fly tipping, for example. And I don't know whether fly tipping happens in that area, but my sense is it would be, it's more of an issue if people can, I wouldn't be averse to the gate at the front being slightly higher, so it's more difficult for people to reverse in their truck and chuck stuff over the top, if that is where the problem is. But it felt as if, because it's such an extensive area of school grounds, it just to fence the entirety just seems completely over the top. Whereas if it is about security of a particular, like all their outdoor equipment or something, then you'd have thought there would be some security measures they could take that are slightly less.
Just have one area
That's
that's
interesting.
quite secure.
Yes, you could have tightly secured their equipment if it's a case of equipment being stolen, for example.
Unfortunately, it is the way that we're going, isn't it? We went to see my grandson playing football. Okay, it was in Sheffield area. We literally could not get in because they'd gone in and shut the gates and locked them. That was it.
It's happened in cities, and there's nothing, with probably more justification or greater fear might be more. But I don't think it is as widespread in rural schools, and I think we should fight it as long as we can.
Right,
We're not
so
out in city centre, so.
I think that's fairly clear consensus there, isn't it? We're going to object to this. It's not in keeping with what is in a semi-rural area.
We could come forward with something a bit more.
More sensitive treatment.
It isn't semi-rural, it's rural, isn't it?
I wouldn't
New Mill is hardly a metropolis.
call it.
I think so.
What does it say in
Been there a lot
the
recently.
neighbourhood development plan?
What did they
What
get
does it do with in the neighbourhood development plan?
Does it make our current landscape
There's
character?
a bus cross.
This is will they get rid of all the hedges? Because I didn't realise the fence was to go all the way around. I looked at the plans.
Yes.
Briefly. I just saw the gates at the front and kind of.
I thought you were not speaking.
No, but you've already decided what you're going to do about it. So I'm just offering on this. I didn't realise it went all the way around like in front of my house, but like it's going to be really ugly, isn't it?
Would be in front of your house.
Yeah, I didn't realise that. Like,
Yeah.
like there have been
Now we
times.
know that, I'd like to change the nine.
There have been times where I've seen kids on the school roof there before, and seeing kids messing around in the grounds when they're not supposed to do, but they're not like the ones on the roof I called 111 about. But the other ones, like if people on the grounds, they're just kicking the football around, they're not really doing anything. So it's not going to get in there.
Kids
I
who
never
live
really
in
seen-
villages always play in the school.
I've been working from home like quite a lot the last few years, so I see them go around like in the field and stuff like that, and it's a bit strange.
Right.
And there's the environmental things about it as well, to getting rid of all the hedges and stuff.
The hedges are really lovely. The
And
hedges are
the
really
trees
nice,
as well.
yeah.
So
And I know that there haven't been any. There were five. There were 5 objections from neighbours.
yeah, there's 6 now. I didn't realise it.
Say it doesn't fit with the landscape or built
Yes.
character heritage of the area. That's the neighbourhood development plan. And people can always get in this fence, you know, you just-
You can always get in. People always get in. If they want to get in. Right. Number 4 is odd because the decision has already been made on that. On this, it was granted. This certificate of lawfulness, so we don't need to consider number 4.
Noted.
Did? Right, right. And moving on. Change of shop, retail shop to wine bar. Rachel.
Yeah, it's technically, Andy's, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, I know what
It is, but I don't
I'll get
know
in
what
for
I
that-
couldn't work out how that was an
It is that, yeah.
It's
why
it's
is
about
it
the
an
side of the
upper
street. I think it's
I
probably
think it,
because it's on the corner. Isn't it on the corner?
it amazing upper thong, it's like a great
Goes
ice
all the way
slice,
down
goes all the way
there.
down to the end.
Anyway, not to worry, I think
It was
it's
one of
fine.
my feelings.
I think
the
that
only
we're
thing
even
is-
getting the menu.
I think the only thing is to just highlight that there were concerns from neighbours about the opening hours matching neighbouring similar facilities. I think they should.
But the magistrates are in charge of that anyway, aren't they? They grant the licence. We do, don't they?
Yeah, I mean, environmental health are watching to enforce the usual conditions about opening hours and lighting and the food.
Noise and all that
Um,
stuff.
I think the noise was the other thing.
And the noise.
But to be honest, just that, you know, you've got Magic Rock, there's plenty of bars. around.
No, I was talking about internal, weren't they? About,
Oh, sorry, yeah.
In second.
There needs more noise.
Yeah.
Internally. There was a climate change statement which I thought was.
Yes, they are, yeah.
I mean, they could, I guess they could have gone further. They said it wasn't practical, but I guess they could have had air source heating.
I think they're trying to do as little as
They do.
rather
I mean,
limited
it's-
space.
And it doesn't work in a lot of stone houses.
No.
That's the problem. I was thinking for mine, and it wouldn't work in my house.
The only thing I didn't like was the plastic flowers in the window boxes on the first floor. I thought they were completely unnecessary.
Wasn't that just an artist's impression?
No, it's actually stated in the text as well at some point, yes.
Oh,
Yeah. I think
That's disappointing.
it is disappointing,
Yes. Well, let's comment on that then.
What an odd thing to include in your planning application with a plastic plant.
I don't think it's worth commenting about the plastic flowers. So we're just saying support, simply just support for that one. And I know we've taken account of who the applicants are, but I think it's really good that it's the same people that are that are on the newsagents. So
Oh, is it? Oh, good.
yeah, it is, yeah. But we don't take account of that. Yep. They're the ones who are in the flat. Okay, move on to number 6, which is Andy. Again, within a conservation area.
Yes, still involved. Yeah, they've matched materials and taken pre-application advice, so we don't get to see what that is, do we? So it seems a shame to me that. Climate change statement provided. I was thinking support it subject to the conditions that's been mentioned. It's mainly around this tree. And of course the conservation office will need to support it as well, I guess.
I thought it was quite unobjectionable, unexceptional, I couldn't really see it. Yeah. Okay, so support subject to the,
What's the condition with the tree? Councillor?
They're worried about the tree being damaged during the building works and that they need to provide some sort of protection for the roots.
I think it's the usual standard thing, isn't it, about providing protecting the roots and so on during the
I think there's some difficulty around that, but it's doable.
Okay, 6 and 7 is a listed building.
It's the only one. It's
consent.
listed
Is that
building
the
consent,
one?
which we can't
Yes.
give, but I have to say I support it. I mean, they just want to make a wider gate and to use the materials that are around to do it. So, I mean, I think it would be harsh if Kirklees turned them down.
So Chris, well, do you want to defer to Kirklees
I'd say
officers, which
because
would be our
like
normal?
Pat says, they're not doing much and nobody looks over it very much at all. It's well away from the main road. But I just think if you buy a listed building,
Yeah.
you know, you clearly have to manoeuvre the cars around. There's 2 cars and you obviously have to take one car out and then back the other one backwards and forwards to get it out. So you can understand that it's awkward. But
I did have.
I wouldn't want to, I'd say I'd rather defer it than approve it.
Okay, so we defer that, which is, I mean, that's our usual practice.
Yeah.
And
Listed
request
buildings.
porous paving, they're putting again. This may be the last time I get to say this.
Yeah, it's just gravel at the moment, I think, so why do they need to pave it?
I thought it only had to be. Number 8, another listed building consent. We defer to Kirklees officers.
Yeah, just said support subject to
Yeah.
building, listed building.
And we've got.
And the telecoms pool, we were all saying, that never happened, did it?
It keeps popping up,
That's
keeps
popped
popping
up.
up in different locations, popped up location number 3 now, so
Same as before?
maybe not quite.
Not quite.
Not quite, I
I
think,
mean, it's
yeah.
still excessive height in comparison to
Yeah.
the.
Tom, what did you?
Yeah, I had a quick look at this one. It's in front of the hairdressers, isn't it, next to where the
Yeah.
old pub was.
It is, yeah.
Where is the best place to put these? Like, wherever you put them, there's going to be complaints and things like that. And there's one at Kirk Eaton, which I've gone past sometimes, so I used to take Laura to work in Murfield. And that was in the middle of the town there. Wherever you stick it, it's going to stick out like a sore thumb, and the locals are all going to hate it. But where else do you put them? Do you put them on the pavement somewhere else? With that bit there, you do have quite a wide bit of pavement for it and space for it. So it's better than some of the other places, like the one that we're going to have in Bridge. And there is quite tall buildings around it and other things like that, but
Still dwarfs them, doesn't it?
yeah, it's a lot bigger. There's a picture of it next to the lamppost, isn't it? It's about another third taller, isn't it? So it's kind of like a landmark, isn't it?
What disappoints me is you don't make any attempt really to make it blend in. It's just, oh, that's a little sort of white thing with a big broad on top.
I don't think you can really, because of the very
They have to be,
nature, it's really.
they've got to function, they've got to be behind
The
the
ones,
car.
the ones
They
that are
can be
made to look
decided.
like trees don't look like
Like I
trees.
say, I'm
The ones
not
that
crazy
look
about
like
it.
trees look worse. Those pretend trees actually look worse. than a nicely designed industrial thing.
But there are lots of design. All I'm saying is they don't make any attempt to do that. That's what you have.
As I say, I'm not crazy about it, but like, I'm trying to think of planning reasons why you're not allowed it there. You say it's not in keeping with the local area. No, it's not in keeping with the local area. You could say that, but I don't know why else we can refuse it on what there is, on where you can, where to put them and where not to put them. I'm pretty sure that there is listed buildings within the locality there. I don't know if the White Hart is, or I think the old club should be, but there is listed buildings locally nearby there. So do we refuse it based on that as well? We did that with the one when they had it on the main road above before. So that was, we mentioned that then. So we can mention proximity to listed buildings not in keeping, refusal. But I've seen worse places where they're going to put them than this one. I suppose like in a village centre, where you've got like other shops and a few other things, and most of it's quite built up. It's probably less noticeable than other places, but if we decide to accept it, there's going to be residents who don't approve of it. So I don't exactly approve of it, but I'm not completely against it. Do you know what I mean? I've seen worse and I've seen better.
It is difficult, isn't it? Because everybody wants 5G, don't they? If you stick it down some, well, perhaps not everybody in this room. If you stick it down a rural road, then there'd be complaints about service vehicles and so on.
And people do want
There's one gone up just above Dunford, the Dunford village, right in the middle of nowhere. But that's quite an accessible road. I feel this is, of the three, this is probably the least worst side.
I was just going to say that, isn't it? I mean, I don't quite understand how they function, but they obviously want height. But then that said, there are far less obtrusive places to put it. If you put it down by, I don't know if it's still a health club, but down sort of just beyond the
mill.
It's still just off the Sheffield Road, but less visible in terms of background, because where they've chosen is still slightly sort of uphill, and it is right in a very visible location. I think they could find a more appropriate location within sort of 200 metres of where they've suggested that's slightly less kind of in your face when you come down.
Like some of the Kirklees car park is where the old toilets used to be. There's the car park is Spinley Court. This is the park, you can even put it in a corner in the park. So there is there is much better spaces within the locality to put it. But it'd probably be a bit more effort so they can't be bothered and try and do the easiest way possible.
We've raised this before though. I think we did this last time.
No, this is a different one. This is a different location.
So I think we're probably moving towards proposing it. But I mean, do we want to suggest that there could be better locations?
You're right, when you've
very
got
close.
the back of the toilets, there's no reason it couldn't go there. Such an offence.
Exactly. Like they're on the recycle bins. We just stick it like around down there and move some of them recycle into the glass bins further out, or do something like that. So that's a bit of a crappy part of the village.
Or down the back of the industrial units that are just off the
And do we know that people would allow, whoever owns the land would return it to them?
Good police own that. Good police own the car park, the recycling is.
Oh, that, yes.
So if they put it
So that would be an easy option.
So at the moment they're having it on their own highway, having it on like the footpath area in front of the hairdressers. So having it there, it wouldn't make that much of a difference to that, I think.
Because then it's surrounded, it's got a few more trees around it.
Yes,
that
top
location. But also the bit that you would see would just be the top bit, rather than where they've put it, as you drive down this new mill from.
So we want to do a propose and then
They're going to the car park.
suggest exploring locations, including the car park.
Yeah, could do that. Well, that one's a bit close to where all the houses are, but if you were to have it in a car park where next to the co-op where the old toilets is, that's kind of away from the houses, it's the centre of the road. It might, and the other ones, which are just the other side of the river, have got trees around them and things like that. So it would be much less noticeable, but I think the whole point of these fine-tuning lists is to put them in places and where people can all see them and it winds them all up.
What are we opposing on the basis of?
Not in keeping.
Yeah.
This was proximity to listed buildings.
Okay.
And I think
High visual,
Visual impacts.
impacts relative to alternative sites.
yeah,
Right.
Inappropriate.
Well, should we say, and there is Kirklees owned land nearby, which
And I
would
think
be
we-
less
I think
intrusive.
we've decided that we'd suggest they consider nearby location, including the car park, the New York car park.
Yeah.
it would much better if these people did come to us first and asked us for ideas where to put them rather than just
It
walking
wouldn't
in.
just want sticking a pin in the map or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Whatever it is that they do. Okay. Right. I feel it's getting better. Maybe next time we might feel able to say yes.
Well, none have been implemented yet, have they?
No.
No, just keep shuffling it out.
Meanwhile, some poor souls can't get any reception on their Wi-Fi.
I think the law then will go to appeal and then they'll just put them up anyway, won't they?
Oh, not
I
necessarily.
don't know.
I don't know, they wouldn't be allowed to in their national parks.
Right.
It must cost them time and effort and money
Well, of course.
to keep having them knocked back,
Yeah.
Yeah.
which might eventually persuade them to do some consultation and make
Yeah.
more sensible
Stop them to
suggestions.
think once
Yeah,
or
yeah.
twice.
This is just in our parish area. It must be happening all over the place.
Yeah.
True.
Which might get some boffin to design a more eye-catching,
Yes.
sympathetic design.
Castellated 1 inch stone.
Yeah, well, whatever.
A folly. I know that.
Recycled stone.
Yes.
I don't know.
That's where they put
Oh,
the
yes.
there, like those massive random towers, Victorian.
Very much so.
Let's move on to number 10, which is, it's you again, Tom, isn't it? The Brockles
no.
one.
No, it's Brockles.
Yeah, and I'll look at the Brockles ones, but I think I missed this one actually.
I support it, I looked at it.
Yeah, I thought it would be alright.
Completely unremarkable.
I thought it was fine too.
Yeah.
Should we just support that one then?
Yeah.
Great, these climate mitigation statements, I've almost stopped noting it because it's becoming ubiquitous. Right,
This is my one.
the annex, wait. Yes.
I've got to be honest, I got a bit lost in this one. It all seems quite complicated as to the various bits that being added on and got permission for, and then whether it was from the annex one. The principle of it I didn't have an issue with, but I thought we should leave it as Kirklees, to be honest.
Okay.
There seemed to be lots of discussions and things that happened before. I wasn't clear what you're allowed to do within opening up a new, effectively creating a new property, but it was attached to the old one. It was all, I couldn't quite get my head around it. to be honest.
Now, I'm surprised highways had no objection, but I suppose it's well off the roadway, isn't it? So should we say defer to Kirklees officers with this one? I thought it looked better. I thought the proposals looked better than what's there already. And then in Greenbelt, the Nook, Walnut Lane, Cumberworth.
I've had a look at this one. It's out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
Well, it's not. It's like some big hill, isn't it? And it's. I don't think it's too bad really. It's a big old property already. It's not. It's just a small extension, isn't it? I think. Smallish.
I was a bit confused about the size.
Yeah.
Whether not back on the size calculators because when I had looked it up, the calculation should be on the 1948 size if it was that, if it was built in 1940, its original build, and it's been extended quite a lot already. So whether this would take it over the limits, I don't know. So I mean, my thought was to defer to council officers.
I'm okay with that. I don't think.
Are you okay
I don't think it's going to make much of a. Like, I don't think there's no complaints about it, and people aren't going to really notice it too much. I don't think it's too much.
That would be the only reason, I guess, on
Yeah.
which it would be not. Okay, so that's deferred to Kirklees officers. Right. The next one is a schools one. and I thought it looked, it's not the green belt, I thought it was unproblematic, I just want to support it. Did anybody else? Just straightforward support. And I'll be back in Harmony.
Yeah, I mean, I support.
Yeah. You okay with that, Chris?
Yeah.
Support? Right, 15 is the one I've declared an interest, so I'm just going to ask Tom if he'll just chair for this one.
Okay, so this is the Skulls Methodist Church, Summit Methodist Church. Change of use of London garage for the market. Do you want to go? Do you want to go first, Rachel?
Yeah, I will. I think this is great news because it's providing a temporary location for the market, which will allow it to continue until such time as it can potentially move back to where the old market hall is. It's that new space, so I think it lasts for 3 years, this application, and it seems a very sensible place to have the market. So I welcome it and would support it.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's good having an outdoor market now. Outdoor market seems to have a bit more hustle and bustle, a lot of people could get to it. There's plenty of parking next to it as well, next to the it's in the big car park, isn't it? So I would support it as well. Anybody else with comments?
So I would support that.
Yeah. We're all okay to support. Okay, thanks. Yeah. Cheers.
Thank you, Tom. Right. Number 16 we've already dealt with at the beginning of looking at these applications. Number 17 is a Skulls one. I think that it's in the green belt. I think there's a lot of concern about the effect on the public right of way here, as well as the loss of the field. I mean, I think I'd be inclined to oppose this, but does anybody else look at
Is this the one where they were wanting that dog area?
No, it's close to there, but that was on that the other
So
side.
that was just a
the
field,
side of the
wasn't it?
lane.
That was
Yeah.
fencing.
Yeah, I was
wasn't
thinking
it?
it's
It's close.
sort of arguments about.
It is, yeah, that was just on the other side of the road, isn't it? Yeah, it's a road that goes nowhere. Did anybody else look at it or have any thoughts?
I didn't look at it. It was only for private use though, wasn't it? It wasn't for
Oh yes, it's just
public use, so we couldn't
yeah.
object on the
Oh,
basis
right,
of
not
that.
increase the
Traffic as
traffic.
well. I just thought if it was granted, it just needed to be protected as only ever being stables or ancillary to the main house. Because I think, from memory, they were going to build it out of stone, which then makes it more vulnerable to them being turned into another property. So it's quite big stables.
Yeah, it looks quite
significant.
big, and it's taking up a big chunk of the field. I mean, there is an existing menage which they're going to allow to go back to nature, as it were. But the new one is quite a lot bigger.
I guess it is. I know you can't preempt what somebody might want to do with it in the future, but given its sort of stone structure, that might be inappropriate in the green belt. Then you could build a more synthetic structure. I'm happy to leave it to Kirby's.
Shall we defer to Kirby's?
I don't have a strong brick paving.
Right, and the last one, certificate of lawfulness for solar PV array within a conservation area. 1 Orchard Place, Waldale.
We're going to have more and more of this sort of thing,
Yeah.
aren't we?
Support?
Where the
I
competing
mean,
requirements.
The conservation officer will decide anyway, but seems fairly.
It's a typical lawfulness. It looks like they've already done it, and then they found out it's a conservation area afterwards. So
I mean, the house itself is they're pretty fairly newly built, aren't they?
Yeah, I would
it's
nick it
not
apples
gonna,
so
and this is the one closest to the road, so
yeah.
support?
Yeah.
Yeah.
something like that, yeah, something like that.
Thanks for giving us the evening off, Rich.
No one's going to want to join the planning committee.
No, I didn't say that. Don't tell anybody.
83 in the next one.
It's till midnight.
Are there any contentious ones amongst them?
I wouldn't know.
Right.
We'll have a look.
Oh no, we're perhaps better not, Rich. Right, moving back to Kirklees Council Planning Officer's decisions.
They're mostly the same as ours.
Yes, we do pretty well. I think it includes that external lift, doesn't it? I think that's
Yes.
yeah.
Oh,
So glad to see that's must have been expedited a little anyway. So can we note then? Note it? Yes. Okay. Right. We'll be out of here quickly. The item 10, conservation area awareness. I assume there's no update on what you've reported
No.
here, right? Can we note then that Rich has emailed Helen Bauer? Right. It's currently on leave. I should know what we're still on. It's obviously still on leave. Thank you. Traffic calming. Right, so we asked to consider any further actions. We decided full council to spend money on a SID. So we really need to get this implemented now, don't we? By contacting Kirklees councillors.
Presumably we can't do that until after the...
Well, we can't
The
do
new
it.
council, yeah.
Council to no.
Because they have
After the election, then we'll contact Kirklees councillors. Yeah. So I think that was quite a good example of putting our money where our mouth is, really. And I think it's it's good to actually do something fairly concrete, working with Kirklees councillors and officers. Right, Charles.
In terms of, we were talking about the locations thereof, is that something you want to leave for the new
I
council?
think so.
Yeah, I think we should.
It's become a mantra now, isn't it? Just
Okay.
leave it all in skills and new council. I think, I don't think we can do anything else.
Is there any value though, if the entire council, sorry, the people who are in the committee was completely changed, should we not make sure that at least information document that you'd both worked on in terms of possible locations was at least shared with
Yes,
the new
with the new
council?
council,
You don't want to start,
I think
so
there's
it starts from scratch again.
yeah.
I think there's quite a raft of documents that will need to be shared with
I just feel
the
they-
new planning committee.
I would just suggest that on that
Yeah.
next planning meeting, that the agenda item includes the table that we've received from the councillors about the current, from the ward councillors,
Yeah.
about the current locations of SIDs, because new councillors may not know that, and also the summary of what came out of the document that I think Mary and Andy helped draft, which was some areas that were priorities that we'd identified, which included Woodhead Road through Hinchcliffe, for
Yes.
example. Just so that at least there's some starters. That doesn't mean they can't
Yes.
change them, but there's something to go at rather than let's all sit and discuss locations and then it take another 4 months to
Yes.
action.
Yeah, I mean, given how extensive the work of this committee has become, I think the new planning committee, there's quite a lot of documents that including
So-
that one.
One final request is, could we ask Deputy Clerk to contact Lee's street lighting to find out which street lights in our parish have plugs already?
So you just have to climb up and.
Yes,
that
it
would
may
be-
not be
yes,
very
that
many,
would be
it may
very
just be the
good.
ones that have already got since, but if there were some,
It would be,
That, it's a factor to be borne in mind, yeah.
that reduces the cost.
okay, move on. Councillor Charles Greaves couldn't come to talk about his suggestions, so he's going to come in May.
If he's elected.
He is elected.
He is elected.
He is
yes,
elected,
he's one of
he's elected
those,
unopposed.
yeah.
So you were here. Right. Move on to Peak District National Park Authority. Yeah. So note, first of all, note the list of updated reviews of committee. Yeah. Okay, thank you. Consider the new application. This was a strange beast. Like I struggled to try and follow the detail of this one. I just, it's complicated. People saying one thing and then being directly contradicted by another, and
I wrote it first, support it, but then I read it a bit more and I thought, I don't think I do.
no.
I'm very pleased that I walked it on Saturday.
Oh, well done.
I've cycled there lots of times in the past. I noticed during COVID actually, suddenly it was all turned into like cycling on marbles at the end because of the amount of stone at the bottom. And part of me thought, oh, that's better than the mud that it used to be. But then, if you're going to put a surface down, it needs to be an appropriate surface. And it's like, you know, the big blocks of stone. And actually, when you read the argument they were saying were people damaging them all by going into them, they're not doing it.
It's just
they're just going off slightly off the edge. And the proposal, I've almost read it when maybe I was unnecessarily cynical of what they were saying, but so we're going to fence, you know, we were seriously looking at fencing it. Well, the thought of fencing, so you've got a wall and then there's a slight edge and then you've got where the track is. A fence would just be absurd and it would just channel everybody into a small area. And I struggle to see what their issue is, to be perfectly honest, because you could still get down it with a 4x4 and we're not wanting people to race
Yeah,
us.
I think that's the issue though, isn't it? That they've started making it into a vehicular access for shooters, I believe.
Yeah, okay.
And that's the danger, isn't it? That you're moving it from a private way to all of a sudden we're going to have vehicles going up and down it.
Yeah.
So if you're going to make it a very good surface, then you've got to stop the vehicles then.
Yeah, careful what you wish for.
Yes,
Something.
you're almost better leaving it as it is.
Yeah, and actually I don't think it's that bad. I can see why they wanted to do a few kind of patch repair, but they haven't really done patch repairs. They've just chucked loads. In fact, they've got a big pile of stone at the top, which is clearly what they had ready to do in the next one.
This will be
Well, it's just big lumps like that, which isn't comfortable to either walk on, certainly not cycle on, and it wouldn't be nice to horse ride on. So instinctively, people go around the edge. If they put some, smaller aggregate on it, it will be more sympathetic, but it is aesthetically displeasing as a result, and it does create it more than makes it more than a bright light.
It's been done without permission, hasn't it?
Yeah,
It's been
stop
done.
the works
And
being
it's the reasons behind it, isn't it? It's the problem.
Yeah, Kirkley's has stopped the work, hasn't it?
Yeah.
It has been halfway through. I mean, my feeling was to defer to, because this is come from the Peak District National Park, was to defer to them, but we could oppose what
For me, I want to do the minimum to keep it as a right.
to reinstate it
Yeah.
as a bridleway. Oppose.
And
Thank you,
Okay.
Coach.
Yeah,
then say
okay,
let's
fine,
not make
I'll
money
do
for
that.
the farmer.
No, which is what it will become.
With a suitable surface.
Yeah.
I mean, what does it say to me? It's like a tiny amount of dust on the top. Is like a really tiny.
So what's the nature of the opposition then? I'm all wording it.
It's
Leave it alone.
inappropriate. It's
Inappropriate development in the
Stone
national
topping,
park.
yeah, stone topping, it's not in
Yeah.
keeping with.
Inappropriate materials.
And it's to be kept as right away, not made into
Oh,
a
20
vehicular access.
millimetres to dust. What's that?
Well, that suggests something smaller, so maybe they are going to do something smaller, but given what they've done so far, I'd rather we oppose it and.
To reinstate an appropriate service for a bridleway.
Yeah.
There are lots of people lined up against it, aren't there?
Well, we can say, can we not say we're also concerned if it becomes a robust track, it may be misused, similar to other routes across the valley.
Yep.
Or misused by illegal
feel misused by.
Well, any vehicle is misusing it because it's a gravel there.
Yeah, but it's funny because they say they think it's a private carriage road,
Yes.
which I thought was a bit of a funny thing to
And then somebody else says, no, it's not a private carriage road, it's a private way.
Wishful thinking, maybe.
Before they go.
If they want to take private carriages up and down there, nobody's going to mind. A phaeton or two trotting around.
Right, okay, so no decision on that one. Decision notices, item 3 there, and congratulations, the topograph.
I must admit, just to add something on that,
Quickly.
and I answer that British note today. We've had to, we've got planning permission, but I didn't appreciate that one of the conditions was then we had to go back with the wording, which I then did, but then because it's a condition, you have to pay again for them to look at the condition. Discharge the condition. So next week there'll be another £58 or something.
Don't think we'll be able to find that.
So,
Yeah. Any planning permission.
so it's a bit frustrating from that point of view. And I would just also highlight that whilst I aspired for it to be in place for
It's
the
not
coronation
going to be
weekend, it's likely to be later in May because there's a few issues with the contractors being able to do it that quickly.
Okay.
But it's still,
Yes, you
it's
do.
alright, there's no showstoppers.
It's
Just
not
a few
do
minor
that.
The year of the coronation.
Yes, can have
It's
you
the month.
the right year on it, right. Right, okay, so item 4 is the Peak District National Park Management Plan, which is full of lots of wonderful aspirations. But again, I think this is something that the new committee members should have access to really, I think. I mean, it's really important, and we're lucky in a way that we've got part of the Peak District National Park is within our area, and we ought to honour that really. Okay, did nobody want to make any points about it?
I thought it was
it's
quite-
a long read, it's good,
Well, yeah, but the table that has all the
Yeah.
sort of objectives in, I thought was really
it's really good.
good
Yeah.
and readable, actually.
Yeah.
And I'm quite pleased to see things like talking about reducing unnecessary clutter with signage and
Yes,
lines and eyesores. I sort of feel there might be certain things we can take from it and could then apply to the valuable books.
Yeah.
Okay, any more comments on it? So we're noting it, it's noted?
Yeah.
Thank you. Right, our glorious highways campaigns. Hayledge Road intersection, can we note the letter from Kirklees Highways? There's the public consultation on Wednesday, 10th of May, and I'll go to one of the, I'll attend for one of the sessions. Okay, noted. Burnley Road closure.
I'm sure I saw on a Facebook page that some work had started.
What, on the Hedge Road?
About a fortnight ago, somebody, the Home First traffic warning Facebook group was saying, hey, don't get overexcited, but there's somebody working on Burnley Road.
On Burnley Road.
Oh, Burnley Road. Oh,
It's not,
sorry, I
no.
thought-
Yeah, I did get repeated, but
They just,
road was open and that was.
the barriers were.
they drove past slowly, did they?
Somebody's tied in the barriers though.
Oh, I
Well,
thought so.
Other than that, it's just the same.
Do we want to take any further action at this time?
What actions have we got left?
Can't we ask for a latest update from one of the ward?
Well,
Because they had it in
to
their
be
system.
fair,
Or have they given us one?
Moses Truck put something in an email to Andy Leader and covered a few points. And one of them was about Burnley.
I think Mo is onto it, isn't he?
Well, they are, yes, they are.
It's just saying, I would say that Burnley, the long delays are resultant from the insurance company who is responsible for this private liability. And blah blah blah. In neither case is it fair or accurate to say that Kirklees has kept roads closed simply because it suits them. And I know that officers have worked very hard to try and get these routes opened as quickly as possible.
It's the same as that Lockwood one. It's the same as that Lockwood one where they had single alternate route traffic for probably a year with traffic lights.
They took legal action, didn't they? I thought.
Well, what they did there eventually,
No, not
because
that, sorry.
oh, sorry.
Well, allegedly, yes, they've done, but it's not produced any results yet.
It's still random between the insurance company. I don't think there's any point in trying to, because I think the Kirklees councillors are, fully aware of this. They're asked about it several times every day, I think.
Yeah.
So,
One of the campaign efforts, isn't it?
unless, does anybody wish to do anything
Yeah.
at this point? I think we're not at this point.
Yeah.
Ramsden, I'll be down to you, Andy. Ramsden Road, note the email from the parish council to Will Acolme. Terrific
No
set,
reply.
no reply. Terrific set of
Good email.
terrific set of emails and memos from Rich.
Remember the Henry Root letters? You should publish them like the Henry Root letters.
I actually emailed him because he felt like I was bullying him. So I sent him three letters. So I sent him an email. I said something like, we're not having a go. This is just come out like this.
Okay, can we note Will's Richard's excellent.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you. Right.
Again, Moses has replied to Wendy Leader about Cheesecake now and Scaly Gate, etc., etc. The three ward councils have met with Graham West apparently, and they've now decided that they're going to put a permanent TRO in those lanes, and they're suggesting that that could be in place within 3 or 4 months. That could be something to do immediately if it is. Yeah,
I think permanent in place, but you can only do it for 2 years, so that's news to me.
I mean, the issue here is that at the moment, there's nothing in place. I know Henry Leader was suggesting, and I thought the same, that they should get these blocks back on a temporary TRO. That will give them time to do the repairs, it would give them time to get a permanent TRO in place, and it would stop all the nonsense with the antisocial behaviour, but for some reason they don't seem to want to do that, and suggesting that this permanent TRO will only take them 3 to 4 months. I cannot see that happening. So I've emailed back again and just said I don't believe you, but and if I can mention Ramsden Road, because it was all in the same sort of
Yeah.
I'm a bit unclear now as to whether Ramsden Road is going to be a TRO as well, because is this a new policy now from Kirklees? Are we now going to TROs rather than the PSPO that they're suggesting on Ramsden Road? And I don't know, I've asked and I haven't had a reply to that. If it is a PSPO, we're still not got a timescale for when they're going to do it. They've got the gates up, but they're permanently open. Don't know who's going to control the access and who's going to fund it. Still a bit unclear about residents' access, because my neighbour won't be able to get through the gate. And meanwhile, of course, all the antisocial behaviour is continuing. No reply on that.
Okay.
Which makes me think, to suggest that they're going to get a TRO in place in 3 to 4 months. They've been on with this PSPO probably about 2 years now. And that was supposed to be easier than a TRO. So,
Which is your neighbour that's blocked in
it's a gamekeeper.
the one by the side of the reservoir, essentially, at the end?
Yeah.
At the end. Okay.
But she was going frantic when they put the gates up, so, how am I going to get in? Got a young kid, and of course it's postman and all the other deliveries. They've just not thought it through, I'm afraid. So, there we are.
on there. Keep taking away. Okay, move on. Cottesmore Road. Can we note the lesser to Graham West? Any more comments?
It looks better now, it needs to go.
Oh, I suppose that's something, isn't it? Yeah. No reply presumably, which, no.
No, not something.
Do we wish to take any further action at this point?
Maybe send a friendly email.
That's a friendly email.
An email saying, it's just occurred to me, I haven't written to you for a couple of weeks, how are you doing?
I just wondered if you're able to give me a response to
Yeah.
when the new council starts.
Sure, yeah.
Or you could actually, that's the way to frame it, isn't it? Because the next planning committee will be with a new
Yes.
Yes,
council,
next
so
meeting,
sort
yeah.
of, given how long these issues have gone on, I really appreciate an update, so, so everyone's up to date on the latest situation.
Yep, yeah, good idea.
Rather than just, why don't you write to me?
You don't ring, you don't write.
It's just,
Don't send me
it's
flowers.
just, I told you unrequited.
It's flowers.
Big
Right.
fruit.
She's getting now. Number 5, she's getting now. Anything, Kathy notes again? Excellent letter.
Yeah, I haven't really heard much more from the residents about this, but there was a bit of communication after the last meeting about trying to arrange other things, but I've been meaning to chase it up with Sally to see if there's anything more from the local resident Sally. Thanks for the update, Andy. I'm going to email them this week just to see how things are. I haven't heard anything more about being any more bad behaviour and various things, but I'm sure it will be happening. So
I think they deserve better.
yeah, I think it's just one of those. Hopefully something is going to happen soon, like you mentioned, and it can help them so it was better like it was before.
Oh, thanks. Thank you, Tom. Oh, you will be back too. So you will be back.
Yeah.
You will be back too.
I'm not going to plan committee a break now.
Your expertise in
You and Andy could be
You and
it.
Andy.
Wading through the 83 applications.
Right, moving on to, now remember at the last meeting, we decided on a kind of pincer movement really, which was to try and make progress on specific roads and lanes, specific cases, but also to suggest to Kirklees that they develop a strategy, some kind of protocol and strategy. So this is what another excellent letter is about. But obviously, when with the new council, when there's a meeting with Kirklees councillors, I mean, obviously this should be an important part of that meeting. Does anybody wish to say anything or suggest any further action at this point? No. Right. Okay. Footpaths and rights of ways. So, I read the you went, didn't you, Chris? You were there.
Yeah.
Would you like to?
She's getting that was one of the items
Yes, I know
discussed
she's
for
that,
quite a number of
yeah.
residents from the whole
Yeah.
way there. I mean, I kind of feel it's within Kirklees' power to resolve that. I think it's we're kind of a middleman, and I don't know where we're getting involved in some respects with this. It's Kirklees have the resources and the power to resolve these issues. We don't. Kirklees have the legal responsibility to do that. We don't. That's my observation from the meeting. I mean, I wasn't sure, I didn't realise I had to report back. Thank you, Rich, for putting those in the minutes. I didn't realise that was part of the deal. I'll bear that in mind in future.
Did you mind about that next one?
No, I tell you what, I'm curious to go because I wasn't very impressed with the entire running of the meeting. They like, are they 4 a year or 3 a year? seemed like it was 3 or 4 months since the previous one, and 3 of the actions were for the chair of the meeting to, well, contact, for example, Network Rail and organisations like this, and
And that's going
he
west.
reported back to the meeting saying, yeah, I emailed them. That was the,
That was it.
in 3 months you want more than them to tick. I'm curious to see whether those items appear again on the next meeting's agenda, or are they just, yeah, we emailed them, but we haven't chased it up or
Yeah.
got any feedback for you. So I was a little bit underwhelmed with the whole of the meeting.
It's a voluntary and discretionary group, isn't it? For
Yeah, it's a consultative group that they seem to do.
And has no power
Yeah.
and can't really advise.
So there were quite a lot of other, like Ramblers Association type groups,
Right.
Yeah.
and it gives them an opportunity to air their views, whether it achieved anything practical. I'm sceptical about it, but yeah, I'll certainly go to the next one and see what happens and report back.
Do you think it's worth attending?
Well, I don't mind attending, and I'll judge it after the second meeting. I mean, one of my local councillors was there, so I'm going to raise it with her. I think it's a bit of a talking shop waste of time. Other colleagues from their own connections were there, so I can kind of attend in 2 capacities, and Linda don't have to bother with that one. Yeah.
Tom?
Yeah, I know that there was the council of Redford Rockhalls years and years ago used to go to one time. I don't know if we've had people going all the time since. But I did notice that Cheesecake now was mentioned in the meeting as well. So my local resident Sally was raising the issue about it. So hopefully that's going to help their case and get people more on. So the more people complaining about these things, the more action should be taken, really.
Well, like I say, it'd be interesting to see
Yeah.
at the next meeting in
Yeah.
2 months or whenever it is, whether any action has been taken and reported back.
Yeah, hopefully it'll be better. Hopefully you'll get better feedback.
It was interesting that you said that, you know, we're the middleman middle person in here, and that, I guess that's exactly what we are. But I mean, I suppose we're trying to voice the.
I don't know, it's too cynical and sceptical. But
No, but
in the area of Kirklees where I live, there is no parish council or town council. So these matters are resolved without the need for a town council or parish council being
But you can
involved.
make,
You could say that about all of these planning applications.
you can make the argument the other way, that the people who live here are more fortunate than Berrybrow because they do have a parish council who are willing to sit and speak on their behalf from time to time.
Perhaps.
that's.
When residents come forward and ask us, though,
Yeah.
I feel as though we should take it forward as far as we can. Yes, we can't do anything actually, other than badger the people that can do something.
Get rich onto them.
But it helps us have a wider picture.
Yeah.
Keeps
We
us
are
informed, yeah.
And we are close to the.
Yes.
Well, given there's 23 of us, I mean, we are close to the. Well, it wouldn't be if everyone's not forthcoming, but.
I mean, my personal views, in terms of the big developments like the field at Netherthorne,
Yeah.
I think that's something parish council should have an interest in relation to converting the conservatory into a single-storey extension, which to do it at Taylor Hill where I live, it just goes to Kirklees Council.
Listen, we have tried to do this. We've tried 2 or 3 different ways of saying, how can we spend less time on the dormer windows and more time on the big stuff? And we've never worked it out because people turn up with.
But is it a statutory requirement that we have a planning committee?
Yeah.
Is it?
Kirklees are obliged to consult us.
Yeah.
So we could take it to full council,
Yeah.
but
But what I question is, Rich sends us the details of these road closures, but we don't have to have a meeting about whether we approve them or not, and the road closures go ahead anyway. Could we not have a similar system where
that's
all...
not a consultation.
No, but could we not have a system where all councils get an email about planning that's going on in their particular ward area, and if they want to raise it as an objection, then do.
We've tried
Yeah,
that.
they do.
We've tried
They're
it
very
and they don't
self-confident.
bother, is the answer.
Well, yeah, well, maybe that's telling you something.
But that lets down the people who live in their wards. We can't just say that
Well, no,
people
because
can't be represented.
it doesn't prevent the people living those wards, as I would have to if I objected to my name's extension, going to the Kirklees planning process and putting my views across there.
Well, if you want to abolish the parish council, that's fine. But I don't want to.
Well, no, I'd like the parish council to add value in areas
We
where...
have tried, but I mean, I wish you luck, you'll be here next.
Yeah, yeah.
I think we'll.
If you can find a way of ignoring the dormer windows and sweating the big
I
stuff,
think
that
we'll
would be
draw
fantastic.
this bit of the discussion to an end, but I just want to say that when we did try to get rid of some of the load of the dormer windows and whatever, I looked at the practice of other parish councils, and some parish councils never comment on any planning applications whatsoever, and we took a decision then that we would continue to do it, and we did try to exclude some, and the list of things that we say now say defer to Kirklees officers, that came out of that.
Yes.
That discussion. But it's probably worth having again.
I also think though it's worth noting that from Kirklees' perspective, they didn't want the name of the development plan because it's just a pain. So actually, like now we've got it, it's been a bit churlish, I think, to then say, well, given you the plan, we'll trust you to implement it. And there's a role in making sure that the applications we see reflect.
What we really need to do in that respect is monitor whether Kirklees planning decisions, how much attention they pay to that, and if that means one of us going on to those actual planning meetings and seeing, whether they do take on board what's said in that. I mean, the Netherthorne one would be an interesting one.
It isn't in our area though.
What?
The Netherthorne one is outside this parish. Oh no, Netherthorne. I'm thinking of Netherton. Sorry.
I think that's how I should be as council to do that and pick that up in the next term. But I do think as well that this committee is one of the most valued committee that they are, because a lot of the other committees, you don't get many members of the public coming to them. Whereas at the planning committee, when you do get some really contentious applications, you can get a lot of people coming, and people come today, you can show them that we're actually working for them and what we're doing, and by putting these in, each application shows that we are judging each one on their merits, and looking at them, we're putting the workings for them, so I think it is one of the most appreciated committees.
I think we have value as well, because we're closer to a lot of these things, aren't we, than the Kirklees officers.
Right, let's move on from this. So, but one thing that I thought came out of the minutes about the meeting was that, which was probably should know, is that public rights of way and material considerations in planning. So that one at Daisy Lane, messing around with the footpath is, it's a material consideration for objecting. Let's move on to Washpit Mills. People have had a chance to look at it, and wondering how we might, whether we respond, or do we wish to comment on the informal consultation. It seems more like a consultation for individuals, because the questions they're asking are about your use of the route, whether your use of motor vehicles and so on. I suggest perhaps if we could comment as individuals rather. I remember walking through that. It was a factory yard then, it must be over 30 years ago. It was open, it was easy to walk.
It was one of Harriers running routes.
Was it right? Yeah.
Regular.
I can't quite see how we could comment on this as a group unless everybody's got right ideas.
Yeah, I was going to go on our Facebook page, ask some people to comment on it. Because it was a bit like the when there was the thing at the Sands with the path going past it. Because it's all about just people who've got historic knowledge of that route, isn't it? And as you said, people are applying in their personal capacity.
I'll get in touch with the Harriers actually, because they do take interest in it.
Because it's all it is related. But I mean, the deadline's very soon.
The deadline's very soon. It's before the new council, isn't it? So
Could we say by keeping it open, you're promoting active travel? By keeping an alternative route open?
I think perhaps we could welcome, welcome the invitation to comment. But we're encouraging further participation by members of the public and also by councillors. That's, yeah. Yeah, I welcome the approach to active trauma. Right, okay. Right, moving on to planning policy and guidance. 15, the affordable housing and housing mix supplementary planning document.
Noted.
I welcome that, noted. This is something to which we did respond to this, and I noticed our response, which was largely favourable, is there in obviously the evidence. That's the evidence. So excellent. Committee budget. No change there really. So can we just note the one single budget line? Okay, happy with that? Yeah. Right. Publicising the work of Holmberg Parish Council. Is it worth shorter script? Is that sorry.
Can we just wait till we've got...
Actually, yes, till we know when it's going
We've
to
actually
be.
got the word. We've got the word.
Publicise it when it happens.
Yeah, we'll definitely publicise it.
When it happens, yeah. Is there anything else that anybody wants to?
I think other than that, DMM and we were just talking about, isn't it?
Okay,
Yes.
yeah, cool.
You wonder how that, how that's arisen, yeah. Whether there's been a move to close it by the developers, if that's what's happened. Something, you feel that something must have sparked that.
It's something that was not, although the public used it, it was actually private land.
I think that's it, yes.
Which
Because
is
it's a factory, it used to,
What we talk about was putting on the
yeah,
land.
it went through the factory.
So like you say, people used to cut
It went
through the
through,
yard
yeah.
and nobody
Yeah,
objected.
that's right, yes, I think.
But now it's someone else's land.
Yeah.
I think it's a bit more than that.
Yeah.
You did very much feel as though you're going through.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was quite interesting. They had a
Yeah.
steam engine there first time I went there. And then there was
Yeah.
beautiful coloured bales of wool around as well, so it was quite a nice walk with small
Not the ever
children.
objected.
No.
Not when after.
No, nobody ever shouted at us. No. Great, well, I think that's it, so
Could we have the missing 18? If you know what you're saying. Could we have the missing 18?
Sure.
Yeah.
Do you mean email to you? Not your
Yeah.
one,
Can I go through them before we get to the next meeting?
It's so keen.
well,
No, but I'm just conscious there might be a lot of them.
Yes. Yes, there would
And
be.
if we know
We'll have the
that-
full lot for the next meeting and then as well.
well, that's it. That's it.
Well
Thank you,
done.
everybody. Thank you.